What's the good word, Judge? Your boy DKB here. So, wanted to chat about the offensive line and, of course, diving into Mekhi Becton. I've seen a few people mention him being elite. He had a recent interview where he was being asked about, being matched up with Von Miller and stuff like that. And he pinpointed before answering that he considers himself elite as well. And, kind of having that, offensive mentality that, he's not dealing with the defender's going to have to deal with him, which is great to see. But how helpful has he actually been to this offensive line, right? The big picture for me is what will end up being our future starting five offensive linemen. Mekhi Becton was already on the outside looking in. We had the earlier reports that, he's kind of fell out of touch with the coaching staff, and that was under Mike LaFleur. But who knows how he's been feeling with this new coaching staff in place, and obviously all of the struggles we've been dealing with. And, to top it off, nobody even got to really work with Aaron Rodgers, to the degree they thought they were going to be. But let's go ahead and dive into Mekhi Becton and figure out what elite actually looks like for him, or at least where he falls on the spectrum, right? And for what it's worth, this isn't a bashing session. Just want to clearly point out from a statistical and film standpoint, what it is that we're seeing so far. And if it's true, we should be looking to extend an offer to him, right? Right now, Joe Tippmann's realistically your only guy that's locked in. AVT is returning from another major injury. What you bought Laken Tomlinson for, you're not getting, right? A Pro Bowl-ish level, right? He was an alternate from what I recall, but Pro Bowl essentially level talent. We haven't got anything close to that. And then, you have Max Mitchell out there. He's had a great game recently against Max Crosby. You get one or two of those out of, maybe, 5 to 7 games from Max Mitchell, but no real consistency there, right? So you're going to have to go back to the well here. But to give Mekhi Becton some kudos before we start off. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers recently went out of his way to shout out Mekhi Becton for his consistency as well. And a huge factor in this, obviously, is Zach Wilson. You have one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. You're going to have all the problems that come with them following you as well, right? Not a great pocket awareness sense. He's gotten a lot better with his dropbacks and being able to actually set a bubble around him, whereas before you'd see him running right into defenders. And then, of course, holding on to the ball too long. So you imagine under Aaron Rodgers, a lot of this wouldn't be as bad as what he probably is. But we don't. So we have to go off of what we're seeing. And for what it's worth, you've seen plenty of other offensive linemen with bad quarterbacks before be able to make the most of their situations. So bonus points as well for being the healthiest offensive lineman this season. If there was a bet for this, I would have ran clear away from this, right? It wouldn't have mattered what the odds were. Seeing Mekhi Becton being the guy that's been consistently on the field 11 weeks into the season is mind-blowing considering the injury luck that he's had so far. So, knock on wood there, but excellent job to him. And Bart Scott actually touched on this as well, which was pretty cool. He praised him for his consistent work in the weight room and the field. And he knew this because he was talking about how he shoots his podcast, in the facility, and the view that he has. He can see him in the weight room, but he can also see them out there on the field when he's working with Keith Carter and drilling down further and, trying to get his footwork and all that kind of stuff, right? So solid work from him, right? He's obviously bounced back and he's not, looking to miss out on any opportunities. Now, from a pass blocking standpoint, what are we getting out of Mekhi Becton? So currently, he's ranked 57th out of 68 qualified tackles in terms of his pressure rate. He's given up 8.24%, where the average in the NFL for a tackle is 6.1%. Now, I know it seems minor, right? Minuscule. You're talking about 2 percentage points over, but it's a world of difference here, right? Now, originally I had a comparison in my head about, if you had $100 and somebody snatches 2 or something like that. But realistically, that's not a great comparison. So I don't really have one for you guys per se. But, just imagine that, you have someone protecting you, right? There's been 10 attempts against somebody coming at you. And normally where you would be protected 100% of the time, he lets 2 or 3 of these guys through and you have a little bit of trouble, right? Basically, you're averaging a lot more over the course of however many attempts. So Probably still not the clearest, but hopefully you get some idea of kind of how major that is. In terms of the sack and hit rate combined, right, sacks and quarterback hits, he's ranked 53rd in the league. He's given up 2.66%. The average is 1.85% for tackles. And then this number's been a little bit thrown off, right? And I haven't been able to check out all the games again to make sure. But unofficially, I've seen where it looks like consistently he has 7 sacks, and then the official number I see consistently is 6 on the season. If you go with the 6 sacks, that still puts him at the second most highest, amongst the tackles in the NFL. And then, by the way, this is all coming from Jets X Factor and Next Gen Stats, who did a pretty good job of breaking all of this down. But according to Next Gen Stats, he's given up 41 pressures, which is the 10th highest in the NFL at his positions, at the tackle position anyways. 15th in pressure rate, right? 15th worst, 11.5% of the time. 9th worst sack rate at 1.7%. And so you start to kind of see the trend here, right? Basically, in all of the important categories, he's ranking in the bottom third. So you're definitely not elite in that area. But that was never the scouting report in him as well, right? He was a uber athletic guy for his size, and you expected to put him in a run-dominated offense while he developed his pass blocking skills, and hopefully you got a pretty good combination at the end, right? Somebody that has plus ability to go out there and mirror and just stall a guy out, and then in the run game you can go out there and pancake people to death, and put some guys on their butts, but hasn't been the case for Mekhi Becton so far. Next Gen Stats also had this pretty cool metric they came up with: average peak pressure probability. Now, it's the only metric like this I've really seen so far. Basically, this isolates the offensive lineman from anything else going on around them, right? Doesn't matter if the quarterback is terrible, doesn't matter how long they're holding on to the ball, none of that. This is supposed to basically give you guys a rating for the quality of blocks an offensive lineman is producing on any given play. And so he does rank 37th out of 67 in terms of that peak pressure probability, which is cool, but that still puts him at average at best. Some things he did have going in his favor, right, in terms of some legit excuses here. 3.15 seconds is the blocking average for him, which ranks 12th highest, right? 3.15 seconds is pretty atrocious in the NFL world. Once you start getting to that 3-second hold, you generally just assume your quarterback is terrible when it comes to mentally being able to process information. And then the Jets do trust him, right? His one-on-one blocks, he's doing that at an 81.7% clip, 14th highest at the tackle position. So the New York Jets do entrust him being able to go out here and block some of these guys. But I take a look at what was happening in the offseason as well as some of the matchups he's drawn this year. He's given up sacks to Kayvon Thibodeau, Chris Jones, Matthew Judon, all plus guys, right? I think Max Crosby maybe got one off on them last year, the last game. But you take a look at the offseason as well, and I know, it's earlier in his rehab, but he was taking L's to, obviously, Bryce Huff, and that's been pretty consistent. Carl Lawson, pretty consistent. But then you had our undrafted free agent who, the scouting notebook on him at least was that you can plug him in as a pro-ready prospect. But he was getting beat out by Deslin Alexander, who ultimately didn't make our practice squad cut. And this was happening over like the span of 5 practices at one point. And so the writing was kind of on the wall for me already that we probably aren't getting Mekhi Becton at his best, or that we have some serious problems here. In terms of run blocking, though, there's not as many metrics, really none. The same that theirs was pass blocking, so all you really have is PFF grades. Where Mekhi Becton ranks 53rd is 68, right? So Highway 77 is essentially shut down right now. What you see on film is really him being able to go out there and put up, break some holes open, but then you also see him uncharacteristically getting lost at the second and third levels. He's searching for guys to go out there and try to hit, and he's not finding them, and he's basically clogging up what could be explosive plays for the running back simply because he can't find a body to, put himself on. So little disappointing in that aspect, especially since that should be his bread and butter. And then the cherry on top, people have let him slide. I've heard all of the other names, the Michael Carters, the Alan Lazars, the Seiji Uzamas. Penalties are shared across the board with this offense. But I haven't forgotten Mekhi Becton. I've seen the various false starts, the occasional holds this season that have put us in 1st and 15, 2nd and 10 after getting a solid first down run. And so, that still is running pretty high on my mind at the moment. He's ranking 4th most amongst tackles with 8 for the season. So, you take a look at every area you can hope to find a sign of life here. And we're failing miserably. And again, yes, there's legit excuses with Zach Wilson here. But to the point I made, we've seen other tackles make good in bad situations as well. So if he was really the elite guy that he thinks he is, that a lot of us has claimed that he could be, you would expect for these to look a lot better. And so with that and maybe some bad blood and disdain, around the New York Jets, Mekhi Becton, he could be a goner. But let me know what you guys think. Should he be staying? Should we be trying to make him stay anyways? Or should we cut ties and search for a new tackle of the future? And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.